meditation actually creates a lot more time and space because you are thinking clearer, you are more productive, you are coming at your situation from a calm state of mind. And yeah, you can do all day, but let's say you're trying to tackle a problem and you're just trying to do, you might miss an easy opportunity to fix the problem. Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erika Cruz. Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. I am coming to you from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I am at my mom's house and I have come out here with a one-way ticket. I don't fully know what my plan is, and I am living for this. You know, if I can be honest, 2024 did not go the way I expected. I feel like 2024 ended up being, thus far, a year of a lot of lessons and a lot of growth, and in life as well as in business. And this is just, part of life and business. It's not always going to be up. It's not always going to be down. There are going to be ups and downs, but I remind myself that through obstacles is how we learn, right? We don't learn if we're just constantly winning. We learn whenever we face challenges. We learn about ourselves. We gain more clarity. It allows us to pivot and redirect. And what I have really found is that I'm kind of coming to this full circle moment where I'm getting back to the things that I used to do. I'm almost like going back to the basics, because what happened was my life and business changed so much over the last 4 years, from working in the tech industry to starting my own business to growing my community. And I really became fixated on working in the business, growing the business. And I feel as if I have almost lost some of the foundations that got me to where I am. I was actually speaking to Kat last night because she's here in Mexico with me, Kat del Carmen. We both started our businesses together. And we were talking about how when we started, we had such massive goals and massive dreams. And at some point, we started working so much in our businesses and in our lives that we stopped dreaming. And the thing is, we've realized a lot of these different dreams that we have. I mean, we were both on the front page of the New York Times together. We both hit multiple six figures around the same time. So there's been so many different milestones. And at some point, we almost stopped dreaming. So one of these things that I've really come back to recently, especially because my mastermind just went through a 30-day abundance activation where we did a meditation every single day for 30 days. And we just felt this energetic shift in the community. And not much changed outside of us, but the way that we felt in the container shifted and changed. And there was just so many realizations. And when I first started in the self-development world, I started through meditation and mindfulness. And I think that meditation gets such a bad rap because sometimes people think, or bad reputation, because sometimes people think, meditation's just not for me. People think I can't clear my mind. And it's almost like, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, but it's almost like that's the point of doing yoga, to help your flexibility, right? To give you more mobility. And that's the same thing about mindfulness. If you have a brain that's constantly working, it's hard to find clarity because your brain is active and going so freaking fast. It's almost like a river, right? If a river is moving really fast, you can't see clearly through the water. But once you get to a place where there's stillness, it's so much easier to see clearly. And I really do think that we live in such a distracted world that giving yourself a moment of mindfulness is what allows you to be in touch with your intuition. So this was such a long introduction to say, if you don't know what to do in your life, be still. Try practicing meditation, try practicing mindfulness. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it and how it has helped me. because I've constantly been that person who always has music in the background or is constantly listening to a podcast, and I'm constantly doing, and I'm trying to be as productive as possible. And I remember when I lived in this little studio in Silicon Valley when I worked in tech, I would be like, okay, well, while I fold laundry, I'm going to listen to a podcast. And then by the time this song is done, I want to be done cleaning the dishes. And it was like every moment need to be used in the most productive way. And there's nothing wrong with being productive, but I was so focused on like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? How can I get as much done as possible, that I was so out of touch with myself. I was so out of touch with my intuition, and I constantly felt anxiety. And I felt like the more productive I was, the anxiety was going to go away. But as soon as I was more productive, I just was like, okay, well, what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And it was almost like once I got a pay raise, okay, well, what's the next thing I'm going for? Okay, well, once I got a promotion, what's the next thing I'm going for? And during the pandemic, when we were all forced to stay home, I was already kind of practicing mindfulness, but that forced me to really practice mindfulness. And that is when I started my business. That is when I got a tremendous amount of clarity, a tremendous amount of creativity, because I could only be so productive at home. I wasn't going to the office anymore. I started to create content. I started to meditate a lot more. I started to journal a lot more. And that is when magic really started to happen. So let's talk a little bit about like, what in the world is mindfulness? Mindfulness is to pay attention to what's currently happening. So our brain is typically thinking in the future or in the past. I'm going to give you an example. So you're maybe worried about like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do this weekend? What am I going to do about my career? What am I going to do about my relationship? You're future thinking. You're almost worrying about the future or reminiscing on the past. Like, oh, if only my parents would have done something different. Oh, if only I wouldn't have had this bad habit for X amount of years. Or, oh, that one time that person made that comment to me. Oh, I should have gone to the gym yesterday. Right. So we're almost like regretting or reliving the past, or we're trying to think about the future. But the interesting thing is that the only thing we have is the present moment. So let's say that you're thinking about tomorrow. When tomorrow comes, it's going to be the present moment. So in other words, all we have is literally right now. This is all we have. And our brain, it doesn't know the difference between something that's made up and reality. So have you ever been in a situation where you're venting to your friends, maybe about your relationship or maybe about a situation at work, and every time you tell them this story, you're almost reliving it because your body feels just as anxious, you feel as if you're actually experiencing it. And there's so much research around how our brain doesn't know the difference between reality or imagination. And a lot of times we're using our imagination in an unproductive way. It's almost like whenever a kid is telling you what happened in the playground or something that happened at school, and as soon as they start telling you, they start crying again, right? Or whenever you're touching on a subject that feels really sensitive to you, that has really triggered you, you begin to get emotional about it. Or whenever you're recounting a really positive or funny story, like you can't help but feel joy. Well, that's literally what is happening with our brains. When we're worrying about the future or remembering the past, we are reliving these situations. So if you're anxious about maybe a partner cheating or a company laying you off, your body is experiencing it as if it's already happening. And with social media, with the amount of distractions we have, I'm probably ADD, ADHD, I'm undiagnosed, but honestly, sometimes I'm like, I literally cannot finish a task. And this is just a result of our environment and how there's constantly distractions, and we're constantly thinking about the future and the past, and we're rarely in the present moment. Like, how often are we like, oh, nothing bad's actually happening right now in this moment? Obviously, if you're in the middle of a crisis, like a car accident or something like that, in those moments, we can't help but be in the present moment. Like, I was in a pretty bad car accident back in, I don't even know what year it was. It must have been like 2011 or 2010. And so like the accident, we flipped in the vehicle. So I was the passenger. I was with an ex-boyfriend. He had road rage. This is like not a good story. This is not good storytelling. But pretty much it was the Super Bowl Sunday. We were going to his family's house because they were having a barbecue. I had just gotten off work. He picked me up. I was in the passenger seat. We were getting on the highway. This guy did not let us get in because the two lanes were merging in together. So my ex like floored it, went off the shoulder of the road and like cut the guy off. So then that guy got even more mad. We got onto the freeway. We were in the carpool lane, so like the fast lane. Guy pulls up next to us and then swerves into our lane to like hit us. Doesn't hit us, but my ex jerks the car to the left and we lose control of the vehicle, hit the center divider of the freeway, flip over. Obviously, I'm okay, right? We're here. But I will never forget that as we were in the air, and at this time, I didn't wear my hair curly very much because I didn't know it was very curly. But that day, I didn't have time to straighten my hair. So it was kind of wavy. And it's so crazy that I remember the moment, slow motion, where we were in the air and my hair was flying and there was glass everywhere. And I still see that in slow motion. And that's an example of being in that present moment. And I wasn't over there worried about, I was in the middle of applying to colleges and scholarships. I wasn't worried about my scholarships. I wasn't worried about college. Like in that moment, I was in that moment. And whenever we go through experiences like that, we have no other choice but to be in the present moment. Amiga, I hope you're enjoying the show. We are going to get right back to today's episode, but I just had to drop in and check with you. How are you feeling? How are things going? If you find yourself frustrated or maybe shaming yourself because you have not taken the action that you wanted to take, maybe you are just tired of starting and stopping or overthinking or worrying about what your coworkers are going to think about you or your family members are going to think about you if you finally start that project that you've been wanting to start. I just want you to know that I see you. I feel you. I overthought starting my Instagram page for 2 years before I actually started it. So I get it. I totally understand. And if you find yourself in this position where you know that you want to make 2024 your year and you're ready to stop procrastinating and start taking action, then I invite you to Courage Driven Latina. Courage Driven Latina is my signature program where you will legit change your life in 90 days because we are going to help you take action on a courage project in 90 days. I also recently introduced the Courage Project Paths, which I'm so excited about. So you essentially get to pick the path that you want to work on, and you can work on more than one path because the program is now 12 months, right? But we recommend one path at a time. And I'm so excited about these paths because we have a confidence courage project path. So if you want to speak up in your relationships or maybe speak up at work, this would be the perfect path for you. Or if you just want to establish more self-trust. The second path we have is the content creation courage project path. So this is perfect for you if you want to create an Instagram page, a TikTok account, or perhaps you are ready to launch your own podcast. We even have a whole podcast course inside of Courage Driven Latina. The third path is the career courage project path. So if you know that you want to be at the director level or the VP level, or maybe you're ready to change your job to a different job, then this would be the perfect path for you. Maybe you're like, you know what, entrepreneurship is cool, but it's not really for me. I really want to be a boss ass mommy. Then this is going to be the path for you. And last but not least, we have the Chingona CEO path. So if you know that you want to be an entrepreneur and you know you want to start your business, whether it's a coaching business or a physical business, if you want to sell a product, then this is the perfect path for you. Again, because this program is now 12 months, you can work on more than one path. Join the waitlist for Courage Driven Latina by going to the link down below in the show notes, because when you join the waitlist, you are going to be the first to know when we open doors, and you may even get some early access. So ensure that you join the waitlist. I cannot wait to work with you. We have some incredible women in this program, and the fact that it's now a year long, we've already seen so much transformation. I can't wait to work with you. Let's get back to the show, and don't forget to join the waitlist. But when we're not in experiences like that, it's so easy to try to live in the past or live in the future instead of where we currently are. A lot of our stress is self-imposed. The experiences that you have in your life and the reality that you're living is based on what your brain is imagining and how your body is feeling. Those are the two main things, right? So like we can have two people in the exact same situation. Like we can have twins living in the same exact house with the same parents, having very similar genetics. Like maybe their parents are going through a divorce, and we can have one person looking at it in a way where they're like, I'm going to be fine. I'm currently safe. My parents still love me. Their relationship has nothing to do with me, versus maybe the other one could feel like everything's falling apart. If I was only a better child, my parents would still be together. Oh my gosh, we're all going to be homeless. We're all going to be living on the street. Like there can be two different experiences. They're both in the same circumstance, but the way they're thinking and feeling about it is very different. This isn't to discount, that trauma is a real ass thing, right? And it's your feelings are valid. They're very valid if you've gone through difficult things or if you're going through a difficult situation now. But there's something about practicing mindfulness. And again, mindfulness is just paying attention to the present moment that allows you to feel grounded and allows you to feel more at ease and allows you to deal with the difficult things you're dealing with. So now let's talk about what is meditation. Meditation is a way of practicing mindfulness. So if mindfulness is just let me be in the present moment, meditation is an act of paying attention to the present moment. So one of the misconceptions people have about meditation is that when you sit down to meditate, you need to clear your mind. It's actually impossible to do that because your mind's job is to think. What you're actually trying to do in meditation is you are trying to pay attention to your mind. So rather than thinking, okay, I'm just going to clear my mind and not think of anything, in meditation, what you're doing is you're paying attention to what are these thoughts actually saying. So let's just use the example of divorce because I think that's something people can understand. So let's say your parents are going through a divorce and you're sitting there meditating, and then the thought comes into your head of like, what if we don't make it financially? So your job during meditation is to say, that's interesting. I'm thinking about what if we don't make it financially? I am aware of that thought. I'm not the thought. I'm aware of the thought. But in this moment, I'm okay financially, or not, like this actually hasn't happened yet. You're just becoming the observer. It's almost like taking a step back and paying attention to your mind. And the way that people describe it, that are meditation teachers, are imagine that you are your consciousness, yourself, you are the sky, and the thoughts you have are the clouds that are passing by. And all you're doing is observing the clouds. That's all you're doing. And I think that's a really good example. But there's something called the magic moment when you're meditating. And sometimes you don't even know you're thinking because it's so automatic. So the point of meditation is not to stop thinking. The point of meditation is to be aware that you start thinking. So like maybe sometimes you have to focus on your breath or focus on some things because again, the brain needs something to do. So maybe you sit there, close your eyes, focus on your breath, and then an intrusive thought comes in. Sometimes you're not even aware that the intrusive thought comes in. But then the moment that you're like, oh crap, I got distracted, or oh my gosh, that was a thought, that is the magic moment. You're training yourself to be aware of the thoughts that come in. I haven't done an episode like this in a while, but this is the stuff that gets me very excited. I've been into mindfulness for a while. I used to use the 10% Happier app. There's a lot of guided meditations in my programs, like inside of Courage Driven Latina, we do a guided visualization to help you find clarity. Inside of my mastermind, again, we did that 30-day abundance activation, which was pretty much a meditation every day. And for myself, whenever I'm trying to make a decision, I take a step back and I meditate. And sometimes people are like, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I'm too busy to meditate. But meditation actually creates a lot more time and space because you are thinking clearer, you are more productive, you are coming at your situation from a calm state of mind. And yeah, you can do all day, but let's say you're trying to tackle a problem and you're just trying to do, you might miss an easy opportunity to fix the problem. And I did a reel about this one day. Like, let's say that you're on one side of the fence and you're trying to get to the other side. And you keep digging a hole and you keep hitting concrete. So you can't get to like the other side of the fence through under the fence. And if you're so fixated on your solution and on doing, you're just going to keep digging and digging all along the fence and maybe trying to dig deeper. And that's a lot of work. When if you were to just take a step back and take a moment and try to be a little bit more at ease and more calm and more grounded, and then you look over to your right and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a ladder right there. I could literally just climb over. That's what meditation does for you, or just being mindful and being in the present moment. It allows you to take a step back and to see more clearly rather than being so tunnel vision and stuck in this one way. And if you've never tried meditation, I highly recommend just going to YouTube and like looking for, you can Google like, or YouTube, inner child meditation. You can look up abundance meditation. You can look up confidence meditation. You can look up decision making meditation. I mean, there's literally guided meditations for everything. And if you get distracted, don't be frustrated. And if you find yourself feeling anxious, that is literally the work right there. If you find yourself feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so uncomfortable to sit, be curious. What are you so uncomfortable about? Like, what's so uncomfortable about being with your thoughts? Meditation and mindfulness, and there's even walking meditations, by the way, so you can even try those. And you can also try 10% Happier. That's an app. The Calm app. The Calm app is what I've been using more lately, or just YouTube, or sometimes I'll just set a timer. Like, there's so many ways of doing meditation, but meditation was really what allowed me to find the clarity to start my business, have the courage to call off my engagement. Like, it's really been life-changing for me. And the point of this podcast episode is to invite you to give it a try, to see how you feel when you're done meditating, even if it felt like a quote unquote bad meditation, even if you felt like you were distracted a bunch. That is the point. It's to be aware of how distracted we can be and try to be in the present moment, because all we have is right now. This is literally all we have. We're not in the past. We're not in the future. Remember, when tomorrow is here, it is the present moment. All we have is right now. So hopefully this podcast episode has encouraged you to give this a try. Try with just 5 minutes. A 5-minute meditation is better than nothing. It is something that I have reignited my passion for. And who knows, maybe I'll even do some guided meditations on the podcast. But if you've never given it a shot before, I encourage you to do it. It has really been really helpful for me. And that's the point of this podcast, for me to share things that have helped me along the way that I think would be helpful for you as well. So this is a very short but sweet episode. If you took anything away from this, be sure to let me know. And I will see you all next week. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theerikacruz.com. That's Erika with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erika Cruz. That's Erika with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.